Today, I'm going to teach you how to play common rhythms in 6/8 time signature. And then after that, I'm going to play some real sheet music examples to give you the most solid understanding of 6/8 that you'll find anywhere. The first thing we need to cover is the basics of 6/8 time signature. The way I like to think about it is that there are 6 beats in a measure and that the 8th note gets 1 beat. So if I wrote out an entire measure of 6/8 in 8th notes, it would look like this. Take note that there are 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. An alternate way to count 6/8 is by counting it in 2 groups of 3. 1, 2. The first type of rhythm you're going to see a lot in 6/8 is this quarter-eighth, quarter-eighth rhythm. Keeping in mind that the 8th note, this one, gets 1 beat. So what does that mean for the rest of the notes? Well, in 4/4, an 8th note is worth half of a beat, and in 6/8, it's worth a whole beat. So its note value has doubled. And the same is going to be true for all of the other note values, like this quarter note here. Before it was worth 1 beat, but now it's going to take up 2 beats with this 8th note hitting on 3. Remember, we still have to count to 6, so 4/5 is going to be counted with that quarter note since that is worth 2 beats, and then our final beat is going to be on beat 6. And it's going to be played like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another common one is the reverse, where you have 1/8, 1/4, 1/8, 1/4. And it's flipped around this time. This time the 8th note gets beat 1. The quarter note gets beats 2 and 3. Beat 4 is this 8th note. And the final 2 beats are going to be 5, 6 here with this quarter note. And this one's going to be played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're definitely going to see this rhythm again later on in this lesson when I play some real sheet music examples. Another common one is this one, where you have dotted quarter, dotted quarter. Now I have a question for you. How many beats is the dotted quarter going to take up? Well, if you may or may not know that in 4/4, a dotted quarter note gets 1.5 beats. And remember, everything is doubled now, so 1.5 plus 1.5 equals 3, with the first 3 beats being taken up with this dotted quarter note and the second 3 beats taken up by this one. This one's going to be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You may be thinking, Tim, what about 16th notes? Well, 16th notes in 4/4, you may or may not know, used to get quarter of a beat. So now they get half of a beat since we're giving twice the value to each note. So here are our first 3 beats, 1, 2, 3, but now we have to account for these notes that are in between them, and we use this term and. So now instead of 1, 2, 3, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and. But we have the second half of the measure here. These are just straight 8th notes. And so these are going to be beats 4, 5, and 6, since they each get 1 beat respectively. So this whole measure is going to be played 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. Now, I want you to pay close attention, because a common problem that a lot of students have is they will play these ones, the 16ths, very evenly, but because there's more space between beats 4, 5, and 6, it can be a little bit confusing in maintaining the same tempo. So what I recommend you do is, even though you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and here, and you technically don't have to count that here, I still recommend counting the ands anyway, but only playing 1 note for the number and the and. And so it's going to be played like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. And by counting the ands all the way through, I was able to maintain a steady tempo throughout the whole measure. So now I'll be saying, what about rests? Well, we have a dotted quarter rest here, and it's the same value as a dotted quarter note. That's why I drew that one there. But the thing is that you don't play. So here's what it will look like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty simple, huh? What if we have this measure right here? This is an eighth rest. So like an eighth note, like this one, gets 1 beat. How many beats do you think the eighth rest is going to get? Well, it's still going to get 1. You just don't play for 1. So let's chart out this measure and see what we have. So now we have a rest on beat 1, but I'm still hitting 2, 3, and then I'm hitting this one for 4, 5, 6. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, a question you may have is, do you have to do the 1 and 2 ands like here? Remember with the 16th notes and how I was saying that you should keep them for beats 4, 5, and 6, even though they aren't 16th notes? Well, here's the rule of thumb, so pay attention. Whenever you have a piece, and it's the entire piece, and there's 16th notes in the piece, you want to, it's called subdivision, count the 1 and 2 and 3 ands throughout the whole piece. That way, when you get to that measure with 16th notes, you're already counting evenly in time. And then also, once you leave that measure with the 16th notes, you can still play the longer notes very accurately by counting 1 and 2 and 3 and. If there's no 16th notes in the entire piece, you can get away with just counting the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I got a tricky one here for you. What about something like this? Now, this is a tie, and they tie the note values together. So let's pretend we don't have the tie for a second. How many beats would this note get? It gets 3 beats. So beats 1, 2, and 3 are definitely played by this dotted quarter. And we have 3/8 notes at the end, so it's pretty easy, 4, 5, and 6. But we have to be careful that this dotted quarter here is actually tied to this note right here. So we are not playing this note again. We're holding it all the way through for 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to draw a line underneath here to signify that. So I drew lines under each one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is what it's going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A little quiz for you. How would you play this measure? This is a quarter rest, and it gets the same value as a quarter note. So just take a second to think about it. And here's the answer. So this is the value of a quarter note. So this is going to take up 2 beats, right? Except you don't play. Beat 3 is going to hit here with this 8th note. This is going to be 4, 5. And this last one is going to be beat 6. And it's going to be played like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to the dotted quarter for a second. Remember, they get 3 beats apiece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it brings me to an interesting point. All of the rhythms so far, and 99% of the rhythms you're going to find in 6/8, the measure can basically be divided in half into the 2 groups of 3. So remember the very first rhythm I showed you. With the straight 8th notes, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But remember that there's 2 groups of 3 here. You can see that plainly right there. And if you go through all of these, they are all grouped into these 2 groups of 3. Now you may be saying, well, there's only 2 notes here. What gives? Remember, it's 3 beats. So this first one gets beats 1 and 2, 4, 5, and 6. So there's almost a symmetry to the measures. They can have different rhythms on each side, but there's one point that I really want to make, which is this. And you almost never, and I mean ever, see 3 quarter notes back to back to back in 6/8, even though they equal 6 beats, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, what's the problem? Remember, I said that they really like to group into 2 groups of 3, and this has messed it up. Keep in mind, these are each 2 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what is this one? This is actually, instead of 2 groups of 3, this is 3 groups of 2. And this is very unusual for 6/8. So just letting you know that you're not going to see a lot of rhythms like straight quarter notes. You're going to see like dotted quarter and then 8th quarter or something like that, where it equals 3 on one side equals 3 on another side. And we're going to see that in the sheet music that I'm going to play for you very shortly. So I'm going to play maybe the first 2 lines of this piece. This is called House of the Rising Sun, and it's actually one of my favorite pieces to play in 6/8. Now let's just take a look at the rhythm here in the first line. So with our left hand, we have what kinds of notes? Well, these are eighth notes, right? Now they're different pitches. We were all playing the same note before. Oops, better turn this back to piano. We were playing all the same note before, but now we have different pitches, but the rhythm is the same. It's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then in the next measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they make things super duper easy for us. Let's take a look at the first rhythm that comes in with the right hand where it says section A right there. Now this rhythm we've seen before. It's a dotted quarter tied to an eighth, and then you have 2 more eighth notes. So remember, it's 2 groups of 3 with that first dotted quarter note taking up beats 1, 2, 3, and then the second half is taken up by these 3 eighth notes, but you are tying them across. So remember, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's now going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got to make sure that you're holding over those ties. So let me play the opening to this for you, just to kind of show you what a piece in 6/8 will sound like, and you can feel free to learn this on your own, as this would be a great introductory piece into 6/8. So that's the opening to House of the Rising Sun. Feel free to learn this one. I'll make sure to include a link in the description for you. Another great reason this is great for beginners or somebody first getting into playing pieces in 6/8 is that the left hand just has this constant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the left hand is really counting out each of your 6 beats, and you can use that when you come in with the right hand to line up your notes appropriately. And it makes it a lot easier to keep track of where you are. Okay, the next piece is by Felix Mendelssohn, and it is Symphony No. 4, Italian, and this is the first movement of the main theme. Now in the opening measure, let's take a look at what rhythm we have with our left hand. We have a quarter note. Remember, it gets 2 beats, 1, 2, and then beat 3 is going to be hit with this first chord here because those are all eighth notes. So it's going to be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then lucky for us, the rest of it is just straight eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that makes things a little bit easier for our left hand. Again, makes it easier to line up the notes with the right hand as well, since you can look at music in these vertical columns and see where things are supposed to hit at the same time. Let's take a look at this rhythm over here. It's the last measure here in the right hand. What notes do we have? Well, just rhythmically anyway. We have a dotted quarter, and we've seen this before. It's tied, and this is why I showed this to you. It's tied to the first grouping, first note in that second grouping of 3. So remember that the dotted quarter is going to be counted 1, 2, 3, but we're going to count to 4 because it's tied over. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Let me play the first 2 lines for you to just kind of give you a feel of how this piece in 6/8 is going to sound. One thing I forgot to mention when introducing this piece was actually right here. I want to talk about this measure right here. So I want to talk about this measure right here. In this measure here, we have a dotted quarter note in our right hand played for 3 beats, followed by this eighth note. Now these are not tied. It may look like a tie up there, but remember that a tie, even though it's that arcing line, has to connect 2 with the same note. If it connects 2 different notes, that's actually a slur, and that's something for a different lesson altogether. But the most important part of this measure we haven't gotten to yet, which is after that. So we have our first 4 beats mapped out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But what do we have here in the middle there, or towards the end? It is an 8th rest. Remember, like an 8th note, an 8th rest gets 1 beat, except we don't want to play. So you got to be careful that you want, while you're playing this melody, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that you have that little bit of space in between those 2 8th notes there. So it's going to be played like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest, 6. You want that little bit of space in there. Obviously, we're playing with the left hand still, but you don't want to, especially don't want to be holding your pedal over between those rests. You want that, so you want that rest to be heard or not heard in this case. Okay, I still have 2 more things to tell you. They're both special tips, you could say. Here's the first special tip, and then I'll give you basically what you need to do after this lesson to make sure that you really bring everything together. Are you ready for it? Well, here's the special tip. So when I was first learning 6/8, this is kind of a story time. Oh, gee, I was probably like 8 years old, and we learned it the first time, and I kind of got it, but I made a critical error, and that was I didn't play any pieces in 6/8 for many months, maybe even a year, until I saw another piece in 6/8. And by the time I saw it again, I no longer knew how to count in 6/8, which brings me to an important point that once you learn this, and that's why I gave you pieces to play, you need to start practicing pieces in 6/8 somewhat regularly, or you will forget how it works. And that's true with everything when it comes to playing piano, rhythm, learning how to read music. You need to do it regularly so it becomes, like they say, the back, you know it like the back of your hand. I don't know. I guess I know the back of my hand I guess you see the back of your hand a lot, and that's what they mean by that. But anyway, continue practicing 6/8 to solidify it so that you understand it the best. So here's the last special tip to leave you with today. So there are certain rhythms that students get wrong all the time, and it's really slowing down their progress, really messing them up. And you need to know about these. So watch this lesson next. It's the 9 rhythm patterns beginners mess up all the time. It's your piano teacher, Tim, here. Thanks for coming by today. See you next time, and happy practicing.